Yesterday, commenters asked me to discuss the news about the U.S. Immigration Service raiding the Hyundai-LG factory and detaining hundreds of workers. I checked with AI. On September 4th, 2025, ICE conducted a large-scale operation called Operation Low Voltage at the Hyundai-LG's battery plant construction site in Ellable, Georgia, detaining 475 workers, over 300 of whom were South Korean citizens. This was the largest single-site enforcement action in the history of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, involving ICE, FBI, DEA, ATF, and Georgia State Patrol, targeting illegal employment practices and other serious federal crimes. In reality, this was a crackdown on foreigners working in violation of their visa permissions, a reflection of the Trump administration's tough immigration policies. Not particularly surprising. However, past enforcement typically targeted undocumented immigrants crossing the Mexican border, while this time it focused on workers brought in by subcontractors for South Korea's LG factory. After negotiations by the South Korean government, most workers have been released. This incident surely angered South Koreans, as Ellable, Georgia, is a small place, and Hyundai's investment was a boost to the local economy. American workers are often less efficient and can delay project timelines, so subcontractors used gray area methods to bring in South Korean workers to speed up progress. Honestly, unlike Latin American undocumented immigrants, these workers have stable jobs in South Korea and are unlikely to stay illegally in the U.S. South Korea is a developed country, and though its living standards lag far behind the U.S., their motivation to immigrate is nowhere near that of Latin Americans. They came to the U.S. purely for the high wages offered by Hyundai subcontractors, driven by the need to meet deadlines. The local government likely knew some of the details, but clearly, the federal government holds significant authority over immigrant work rights. Their raid on the Hyundai factory halted construction, causing significant losses for Hyundai. The incident made big waves, with legal liabilities piling up, and under current immigration enforcement penalties, the losses won't be small. However, if subcontractors stop hiring South Korean workers and switch to local ones, construction efficiency will suffer greatly. For one, American workers' skills are often subpar. For another, they're more individualistic and harder to manage. Add to that union organizations, which require lengthy negotiations and interest exchanges, wasting even more time. Hyundai-LG's investment in Georgia aligns with Trump's political demands, but more importantly, it was drawn by Georgia's tax incentives. Over the past 40 years, many South Korean companies have invested there, so I believe the local government must have known about these gray area employment practices. This time, federal agencies enforced the law aggressively, with local authorities actively cooperating, almost like fattening a pig before slaughter. The tax deductions South Koreans were promised remained an empty check, but the immediate fines will likely cause headaches. With the project halfway done, abandoning it isn't an option, so they can only swallow the losses and move forward. This kind of investment experience is terrible. Thus, Trump's administration is an outright mess, with many of its policies contradictory. On one hand, he pushes for U.S. reindustrialization. On the other, his anti-immigration policies make it nearly impossible for factories to operate in the U.S., struggling to find qualified labor and facing high labor costs. Meanwhile, his family leads the charge in hyping cryptocurrencies, inflating financial bubbles, showing no real preparation for suitable conditions to support U.S. reindustrialization. If the U.S. wants to achieve reindustrialization, it must give a green light to companies investing in factories, showing leniency in enforcement and allowing firms some autonomy. Otherwise, American manufacturing and MAGA will become a joke. Other companies seeing Hyundai-LG's ordeal will feel fear and seriously consider the hidden costs of investing in the U.S. These costs may far exceed actual operational expenses, making investments unsustainable and ultimately wasted. Consider how China, when developing electric vehicles, gave Tesla many green lights. Not only did they provide free land, but the factory was built and operational in less than a year, pulling Musk from the brink of bankruptcy. At the opening ceremony, Musk was so thrilled he danced. Now the world's richest man, Musk will always remember the support China gave him when investing there. Despite China's issues, its determination and efficiency in supporting leading enterprises are undeniable. So when Modi invited Musk to invest in India, Musk didn't even bother visiting. He could tell with common sense that India lacks the investment conditions China offers. MAGA supporters need to face reality. American workers' skills are currently poor and struggle to meet foreign companies' job requirements. To gain more job opportunities, they need to train hard and improve themselves. They also need to tolerate foreign workers entering the labor market. Only through competition can they identify their shortcomings and improve, allowing companies to boost efficiency. Only when more companies can profit in the U.S. will new factories bring new jobs. As labor demand grows, wages will naturally rise. If they keep pressuring the U.S. government, watching politicians raid factory workforces and deport these workers, sure, there'll be no one to compete with for jobs. But if companies can't survive, go bankrupt, or move overseas, how will you find jobs? South Koreans shouldn't be too upset. Whether the U.S. targets you or not, your days won't be easy. China's industries are rapidly upgrading, overtaking many of South Korea's traditional strengths. South Korea picked the wrong side in the China-U.S. competition, and the consequences are starting to show. The U.S. is a giant that's lost its ability to generate new blood, forced to drain its allies' marrow to survive. Now that the U.S. has turned on you, maybe it's time to think about South Korea's future. Should you stay tied to the U.S., a leaking, sinking ship, or jump to China's side? At the very least, secure a ticket for the next boat.